total last night. The White Sox, as always, against the Twins, led by Jose Abreu and Alexi Ramirez. They are seeing it and hitting it. Check out the numbers. Boy, in the last 7 games, the White Sox have flipped the script offensively. On the Minnesota side, they were facing Chris Sale last night. That didn't slow down Brian Dozier or Trevor Plouffe, who each had 3 hits. As the Twins got offensive with 8 runs scored last night, that went against the trend in their previous 13, where they averaged just over 2.5. Both teams will look to do it again tonight in game number 2 as the Twins take on their rivals, the Chicago White Sox, here on the south side of Chicago. The pitching matchup features a pair of pitchers that got a no decision last weekend at Target Field. Johan Pino for the Twins was razor sharp, 6 innings, just 2 runs against the White Sox. He'll be once again opposed by Scott Carroll, 1 run in 6 innings for a no decision against the Twins. Welcome inside U.S. Cellular Field. An absolutely perfect night for baseball here in game number 2 with the Twins and the White Sox. A special night last night for Kenny Vargas, up from Double-A, his major league debut. And even though he was facing one of the best pitchers in baseball in Chris Sale, it did not disappoint. His first major league hit, his first major league RBIs, and even some stellar play with the leather over at first base. Kenny Vargas still smiling about that debut today. And we asked his manager, Ron Gardenhire, his impressions of the big man.
You know, he gets after it pretty good, and we want him to relax and just get up there and take his swings. He's going to do that. We know he's going to take his swings and all those things, and we'll mix him in first base, you know, off and on, and let everybody get a chance to play. So I just like the way he comes out. He's got a big smile on his face. You need that breath of fresh air, and you know what? Him getting a big hit last night and seeing a guy get their first major league hit, some RBIs, was huge.
Vargas and the Twins will look to equal the series at 1. When we come back, Dick Bramer and Roy Smalley with how the Twins can build off the offensive explosion last night.
Sports North is presented by Menards. Save big money on all your home improvement needs at Menards. And by Jeep. Hurry in and get a great deal during the Jeep Summer Clearance event. It's another beautiful summer night on the south side of Chicago. Game 2 between the Twins and the White Sox. A couple of veteran minor leaguers will face each other on the mound again tonight. Johan Pino with a good start against the White Sox. His mound opponent last Sunday at Target Field, another veteran minor leaguer in right-hander Scott Carroll. And we welcome you to U.S. Cellular Field. Dick Bramer along with Roy Smalley. The Twins need to pick up a win here. It's been a disappointing road trip. One encouraging sign last night, though, the offense, the lineup did a little bit of everything.
Well, one game does not a slump bust make, I will guarantee you that. But they did some things differently last night than they've been doing in the past. They got balls out over the plate, and when they got those fastballs to hit, they were ready and they hit them. That is a really, really good sign. If they can follow that approach up tonight, they can break out of this, maybe have a week's worth of real good hitting. The other thing that I really think may happen is that they may have just been able to relax now and just get out after the offense.
One of their better offensive nights against Chris Sale, one of the nastiest starters in the American League. Twins hope to even this series at a game apiece when we come back. As it was, I think, for most of the upper Midwest. The Twins hoping to follow up a good night offensively with another good one here tonight, picking up a win along the way. Twins have won just once on this road trip against 3 losses. The Menards batting order for the Twins: Danny Santana on top, Brian Dozier batting second, then Trevor Plouffe, Josh Willingham, Kurt Suzuki, Kenny Vargas, Oswaldo Arcia, Chris Parmelee, and Eduardo Escobar.
Scott Carroll on the mound for the White Sox. He and Johan Pino, very, very similar in style. A couple little fastballs, a couple little breaking balls, and a changeup. He'll try to mix them all around, and as will Pino. And they opposed each other last start. That strategy worked very well for each of them.
Northland Ford defense for the White Sox: Alejandro De Aza, Adam Eaton, Diane Viciedo in the outfield, Connor Gillespie, Alexei Ramirez, Gordon Beckham, Jose Abreu, the infielders. Adrian Nieto, the Rule 5 catcher, backup catcher, getting the start here tonight. Danny Santana had a tough ball game last night, but he'll lead things off here tonight against Carroll. And the first pitch down and in, ball 1. Santana, Dozier, and Plouffe facing Carroll, who they just saw last Sunday. He had to leave the ball game after a good outing because of a blister. the middle finger of his right hand. If it was on his left hand, there'd be some other issues, and no one would care. He throws with his right hand, and the blister forced him to leave the ballgame. 2-0. 3-0. Carroll in that start, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, only walked 1. He's in danger of walking the leadoff man here in the first inning, and he's done it on 4 pitches. So the first thing you think about is, well, maybe the blister isn't healed and somehow it's affected him. Santana takes a leadoff walk. Gary Cederstrom, pride of Minot, North Dakota. Minot has a lot of other things to be proud of, too. He's the home plate umpire. Kerwin Danley, Mark Ripperger, and Dan Bellino. Brian Dozier, the batter. You saw Dozier's night last night, scoring 3 runs. No player in either league has scored more runs than Brian Dozier. He's tied with Mike Trout in the American League. Nobody in the National League has more than Dozier's 75-run score.
Brian taking Paul Molitor's challenge in spring training to heart. To score 100 runs this year, he's going to do that easily. And despite a relatively lower batting average, lower than what Brian wants his stats to be, he's been a very good run producer, scoring and driving in.
Down and away, 1-1. Paul Goldschmidt in the National League. Anthony Rendon of the Nationals also with 75 runs scored. But of those players, Dozier has by far the lowest batting average. Check this one, 2-1. 7 pitches for Carroll and only 1 strike. Carroll made his major league debut this year at the age of 29. His mound opponent, Johan Pino, made his major league debut this year at the age of 30. Liner into right center field. Santana had to wait for the ball to clear Beckham. He'll still scamper to third. Ramirez nearly collided with him. And a good start for the Twins with a walk backed up by a single.
And that's the kind of at bat right there that will see Brian Dozier a 270 or 280 hitter at some point in time. Sinker out over the plate, didn't try to pull it, hit back through the ball. Very, very good swing. Santana with that great speed, even though he had to hold up and make sure that Beckham was going to catch it. So much speed. The ball hit to either side of the center fielder. He's going to make it a third relatively easily.
Bloof, the batter. Down and away, ball 1. A couple weeks now since Bloof was homered. Just 7 on the year. That's a fair ball down the line. Santana scores. Dozier to third. He'll be held. And the Twins jump out early on Scott Carroll. Walk, a pair of hits, and the game's first run.
And a nice swing by Trevor as well as we look at it. It's a little sinker in the middle of the plate there. What I like about what the Twins are doing so far, even though Danny Santana walked on 4 pitches, both Dozier, when you see that ball just inside the third base bag, both Dozier and Plouffe up there ready to hit. As soon as they see a fastball in the middle of the plate, be aggressive and go to rip it. And that's something that we haven't seen from the Twins a lot. They've seemed to take an awful lot of good pitches to hit early in counts. Did not do that against Sale last night, and are not doing it tonight so far.
Down and away, ball 1 to Willingham. Twins have taken 2 swings. Dozier's single and Plouffe's double. 1-0 to Willingham. 2-0. You saw it was Plouffe's 30th double of the year, and yes, just the 7 home runs, but all year long he's been among the league leaders in doubles, and his 30 doubles now puts him into a tie for 3rd place in the American League. Dangerous pitch here. Carroll struggling in the first inning. 2-0 to Willingham. Big swing and a miss. Infield playing back wouldn't take much to make this a 2-0 ball game here. Willingham obviously has to put the ball in play. 1 for 2. The strikeout against Carroll. Full count. First base open and Suzuki on deck.
Josh has been swinging the bat much better lately, and I think it started with a couple of base hits to right field and right center a week or 10 days ago. And here in this 3-2 count, nobody out, runners on second and third, middle of the diamond approach would be really, really wise here, I think, for Josh. He'd at least get a run in, maybe both of them.
Ball 4. Carroll has yet to retire a batter. The bases are loaded for Suzuki. Have scored now in 4 straight innings, counting the 3 last night.
This take right here, I think, a result of him waiting a little longer, thinking in the middle of the diamond. Ball came in, looks like it's very, very close, but Cedarstrom calling it ball 4 to load the bases. Pretty good take by Josh there. That's the pitch that's just, it's so easy to swing over the top of that one if you get over anxious trying to hit the ball to your goal field. That's why I was hoping that Josh would take a center field approach. I guarantee you this guy will.
Gardenhire was talking about Suzuki's approach, particularly in RBI spots like this, and suggesting that some of the less experienced hitters are kind of white-knuckling it up there and being over-eager at the plate, which I guess is a natural tendency, but that Suzuki sticks with his plan, playing it, trying to hit the ball hard up the middle someplace. 1-1. This night the Twins loaded the bases without scoring a run against Chris Sale, and now they've already got one and have the bases full.
To your point about Suzuki, just so that people understand what it's like to hit up there. Just because you're thinking center of the diamond doesn't mean you won't pull the ball if the pitch shows up that allows you to pull it. But if you're trying to pull it, there aren't very many pitches that will show up that you can do anything else but that. So Suzuki understands that very well, and he's just relaxed and taking what the pitcher will give him and trying to put the barrel of the bat on it anywhere on the field.
Carroll really struggling. This is already his 20th pitch of the inning. Toward the hole, Ramirez to Beckham, double play. No run scores, but a huge pitch for Scott Carroll. Dozier coming in, scoring his 76th run of the year. Runner at third, 2 down for Kenny Vargas. Vargas, the designated hitter. 2-run double in his second plate appearance. Grounded foul between Paul Molitor and the line. And Paul Molitor playing, I think, the deepest first base coach spot I've seen him play.
Do you blame him?
No, not at all.
Saw Kenny Vargas hit the ball down the left field line. Blur. I'd be moved back farther than that.
And another chopper foul. 2 strikes. Talked with Vargas today and confirmed with him that he prefers Kenny. mother might prefer tennis. So if she's watching, apologies, but we'll go with Ken. 0-2 to Vargas. 1-2. In the dirt. Nieto keeps it in the dirt. 2-2. Another chopper foul. Vargas, in case you don't know, a switch hitter. Power from both sides of the plate. It's hit down the left field line and a long run for Diaz. And he gets there in foul territory to end the inning. First 4 men reach. A couple of them score in the first inning. The Twins jump out in front. Here in Chicago, game time temperature 75 degrees. An important 24 hours for the White Sox, because if they win 2 games here against the Twins, they will have done what the Twins hope to do in early August. They will have gotten back to the 500 mark. The Menards batting order tonight: Eaton, Beckham, and Abreu, Dunn, Ramirez, Gillespie, Viciedo, Diaz, and Nieto.
Johan Pino on the mound for the Twins has pitched very, very well his last 3 or 4 starts.
Enemy takes low, ball 1. He's got a couple of good starts against the White Sox. So they will be seeing him for the 3rd time since his call-up. Made his major league debut against Chicago. 2-0.
You mentioned that Scott Carroll, the White Sox pitcher, and Pino, both with similar styles of pitching. There's a strike. I really believe that, and Bert Blyleven talks about this all the time, where a pitcher needs to establish one pitcher or another, like establish a fastball in or establish a way. I think Pino has to establish in White Sox here's minds that he's liable to throw anything at any time. I think that's is going to make him the most successful. Use all his pitches, be unpredictable, throw them all of them all the time, rather than trying to establish any one pitch.
Pino falling behind 3-1. Hit deep to the right field corner. Hard off the wall. And he has 2. He will hold up with a leadoff double. Didn't work for Carroll, and it didn't work for Pino either. You fall behind hitters, you pay the price. Overland Ford defense for the Twins. Willingham in left, Santana in center. Arcia had to retrieve that line drive in the corner. Kloof and Escobar left side of the infield. Dozier and Parmalee on the right side, and Kurt Suzuki behind the plate. And now Gordon Beckham.
Well, you said it right, Dick. You just can't pitch 3-1 in this league to any hitter in the big leagues. And Pino is one of those guys that has to throw it over.
The first, and Parmalee goes to the bag after fielding the check swing bouncer. And Eaton advances to third, one away. We'll bring up Jose Abreu, who has hit in 10 straight. And appears to be already one of the best right-handed hitters in the game.
He is, and the All-America scouting report, in my opinion, this is the way you have to pitch him. Fastballs on the inside corner or off the plate, and I don't mean once in a while. I mean just pound in, pound in, pound in, make him think you're going to throw it in there, and then stay away for strikes. Most importantly, don't give in when he can beat you. Allow him to take a walk if he won't swing at your pitches just off the plate. Don't throw anything in the middle.
Strike one, Anthony's. 2 bases open. Dunn on deck. Abreu's reached in 10 straight plate appearances. He's hit in 21 straight. And the inside corner called, and it's 0-2.
Well, he's thrown one to the outside corner and one to the inside corner, and that's a great idea. You look at the hot zones for Abreu, anything from the middle of the zone up, and I'm talking anywhere middle to up, he's just devastating. Down low has a bit more trouble with. That's where you got to keep him. And that's why I think if you show him inside, you're even more effective down low. Anywhere down low. Trying to go down and in.
Check swing and 1-2.
Missed by about as far away from the spot as you can miss right there.
Abreu, 27 years of age. 10 years professional ball in Cuba. Slow breaking ball, missing outside 2-2.
Good try. You can see what Kurt Suzuki was trying to do there. Fastball in was where his target was. It's not where he ended up throwing the pitch, but he wanted the fastball in, then go back to the breaking ball outside. That's what I'm talking about right there. If Abreu will take that, allow him to take it, especially with first base open. That's the one you want him to swing and miss. He may not offer that because he's so hot right now, but that's where you want him to chase the ball.
Straight back. 94 strikeouts and 374 at-bats. Just 28 walks, and 11 of those intentional walks. So 17 times he has taken ball 4 unintentionally. That's not many.
No, he'll swing at it, and if it's, as we showed in the hot zones, if it's in the middle to up, he's going to swing at it and hit it hard someplace. So just stay down and away, preferably.
2-2.
Coming back in.
Foul ball.
Good example there of why he is such a dangerous hitter. And you see him right there. He's reminding himself to stay inside the ball, inside to out, with 2 strikes right there. That's what that little rocking with the bat meant right there. He's reminding himself, I want to stay inside to out so I'm not way out in front of the breaking ball. Even though that's what he's telling himself, I still think breaking balls outside corner, off the plate. There goes Kurt out there. Throw it way out there. Get him to swing it. Okay. Good try. Excellent pitch. Good try. He didn't offer that. That's okay.
3-2. Pitch of this at bat. Pino pitching with a 2-0 lead, trying to pitch around a leadoff double by Eaton. Full count to Abreu.
Kurt's going to go out there and try to get the same pitch, try to get him to swing at it.
Weak pop up right side, Parmalee backpedaling. Dozier lets him have it, 2 down. So a happy ending to a long at bat. Pino ended up getting Abreu to pop one up for out number 2.
Very nice pitching and calling by Pino and Suzuki. There's a fastball in the outside corner, fastball in the inside corner. Now he goes to work. He shows him one up and away. Now he's going to try to entice him with breaking balls out. Got away with one there that was up in the hot zone. But he comes back, fastball, entice him with that breaking ball. Entice him with the breaking ball, and he gets it finally on 3-2 to pop up. That was a nice at-bat call by Suzuki and execution by Pino.
Breaking ball on the outside corner to Adam Dunn. 0 for 6 against Pino, but only 1 strikeout. Dunn put the ball in play against him. Outfield playing Dunn deep straight away, infield into a pull shift. More and more you see it in baseball, and you see it here in this at bat. Every once in a while, late in a ball game, a manager will bring an outfielder into the infield, but now several times a game you see an infielder in essence becoming the 4th outfield. Inside missing 2-1. See, it might be possible for Dunn to land one between Dozier and Arcia, but not likely.
Shouldn't be.
2-2.
Those two pitches right there, the same kind of setup and implementation or execution to a left-hand hitter, showing the ball in under his hands. It gets a hitter a little bit anxious. If they're going to pitch me in there, I got to quicken up a little bit. Then throw him a breaking ball down to his back foot. Looks like it's coming in there, and then disappears below his back.
Got him.
Beautiful.
Pino gives up a leadoff double to Eaton, strands him at third base, and comes off the mound with a 2-0 lead.
Lead, and it looks like, at least for the first at bat, the offense has carried over. I had a conversation with Trevor Plouffe in the Twins clubhouse this afternoon. He had 3 hits yesterday. They were facing Chris Sale, and he said you could feel it in the dugout. Our confidence was starting to swell, and they figured if they can get some hits off of Sale and score 8 runs last night, who knows what they can do the rest of this series. Off to a good start. We talked about it in the pregame. We talked about it, guys, at the start of this game. Can it carry over? It's just one game, as Roy Smalley talked about, but now it's one game and a good first inning. We'll see if the Twins can build from here.
All right, thank you. Plouffe with a big double and a 2-run first. Now Oswaldo Arcia will lead off the second. Parmalee and Escobar will follow. Carroll fell behind just about everybody in that first inning. Arcia sends a ground ball to Ramirez, who fumbles it. And Arcia reaches a routine play hit right at him. And Arcia, hustling down the line, ends up at first on an error.
Something you don't see from that guy very often, and routine or not. This guy can just flat play defense out there, but the ball took a little bit of a funnier hop on him, hit him in the heel of the glove. He just wasn't quite ready for that hop. We'll have to accept an error there. You know, Kevin Gork said something very, very, I thought was interesting and right on, talking with Trevor Plouffe and confidence. It's like at the plate. It's like we said in the opening of the show. A couple of things that happened last night against Chris Sale. Guys were aggressive early in the count on fastballs, good fastballs to hit, and that looks like it's carried over a bit. But the other thing is just a collective sigh of relief. We score a bunch of runs against a good pitcher, as Parmalee takes one on the corner. We score a bunch of runs and have good at-bats up and down lineup against a pitcher of Sale's caliber. Then all of a sudden, the big collective sigh of relief, the confidence comes back, even more so, the tension comes out of your hands and brain, and you finally start getting some hits.
Up the middle, and Ramirez makes a fine play there. Double play! That takes care of his error. A diving stop to his left, a nice flip to Beckham, and the White Sox get their second ground ball double play in the first 2 innings.
Just a terrific play, and there aren't too many guys in baseball that are any better than Alexi Ramirez playing defense at that position. He gets a nice jump on that ball. You can see spears the short hop. Nice flip to Beckham, and Beckham has a very, very nice turn. Look at this play. Good flip to Beckham. Beckham, a tough guy, hangs in there against the slide. Good arm. That is a terrific play right there. Good job by Arcia. Went in hard. We're not seeing a lot of that lately from anybody in baseball, going in hard on the pivot man. But Arcia got Beckham pretty well. Beckham able to hang in there and deliver a big throw despite that.
Here's Escobar. And a first pitch strike. Escobar bumped the average up to 275 last night. Pulling it foul. 2 strikes.
Outside of Dozier's base hit and Plouffe's double, even though Plouffe's ball was on the ground, hit very, very hard. We're seeing Suzuki with the ground ball, Vargas hitting over the top of it, Arcia over the top of it, Parmalee with the ground ball. It's a testament to Carroll's sinking fastball that he has, and you can see it here from this center field camera. It's going down pretty hard.
Target Field has become the top choice for families throughout Twins territory for all kinds of special occasions and commemorations. Bring a group to the ballpark. Go to twinsbaseball.com/groups or call 800-33-TWINS. Dribbler up the line. Easy play for Abreu, and the Twins send just 3 men to the plate. Hit 3 ground balls in the second. Double by Adami. And holding on to a 2-0 lead, he'll face Alexei Ramirez, Connor Gillespie, and Diane Viciedo in the second. Off the plate, ball one. Twins are playing .500 baseball against the American League Central and every single team in the division. Overall record against Central opponents, 21-21. They're 5-5 against the Indians, 6-6 against the White Sox, 4-4 against the Tigers, and 6-6 against the Royals. 2-0 from Pino to Ramirez. And a strike, 2-1. Pino fell behind the leadoff man in the first inning, Eaton, and he hit a line drive double off the fence in the right field corner. 2-1 to Ramirez. Popped up, short right. And Garcia under it for the catch, one away. Third start against Chicago, and each of the first two pretty good, pretty solid.
He's pitched very, very well against the Sox. He's had good command of his fastball and change. He's mixed in just enough breaking balls like we saw to Abreu in the first inning. The young man knows what he's doing, knows what he's trying to do. And that's all you can really ask. You can't throw it where you want to all the time. But if you have a plan, you're trying to do it, throw it in the right spots, and you do it most of the time, you've got a chance up there.
Down and away, ball one.
I was talking with Rick Anderson today before the game, just general baseball and pitching conversation. He said, a lot of times pitchers will go out there and we get in a little trouble and they just start throwing it up there without really having a plan.
Took a little bit off and got a weak fly ball to center. Fell behind Gillespie. Looked like he threw him a changeup and got a fly ball to center for out number 2. You can now tweet your photo using hashtag NorthFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in an upcoming game broadcast. Brought to you by AT&T. Diane Viciedo will hit with the bases empty. 5 in a row set down by Pino. Strike. Pino won 83 ball games in the minor leagues. He lost 57 games in the minor leagues. He pitched nearly 1,100 innings in professional ball before getting a chance up here. And he's done all that, and the Twins' hope has learned how to pitch through all of that. Something to be said for that. 1-2. One and two to Viciedo. Very high, 2-2. Viciedo 0 for 5 against Pino. Got him. Good inning for Pino to set down 6 men in a row. The Twins have a 2-0 lead. Presented by Century Link, your link to what's next. By Northland Ford. Visit northlandford.com and your local Northland Ford dealers today. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. Danny Santana leading off the third, and he takes strike one, something that Carroll could not do in Santana's first at bat, first plate appearance. Walked him on 4 pitches. Dozier singled. They both scored. That's how the Twins got their 2 runs in the first inning. Now a base hit to right. Santana with a sharp single to right, and the leadoff man is on for the 3rd inning in a row against Carroll.
Well, Carroll's got a lot of sink, but not up there. When you start the ball up about belt high and you're a sinker ball pitcher, it kind of falls down into a left-hander swing, and that pitch is not going to get Danny Santana out too often.
And now Dozier singled, sent Santana to 3rd. They both scored. Dozier scoring his 76th run. A strike. I would imagine you moved around a little bit in the batting order in your career.
Yes, sir.
Might have even bat a little lead off. I don't remember, but Dozier for most of the first half of the year hit lead off. Now he's hit second a lot. He's hit 3rd a few times. What difference does it make? Really? And that's not a rhetorical question. I'm just wondering.
I think leadoff is the only spot in the order where to answer your question directly, I think the biggest thing is in your mind. It doesn't make an awful lot of difference. You can't let where you hit in the batting order affect your mental outlook or change what you're trying to do. I mean, Brian Dozier is, especially in the American League, when you don't have a pitcher hitting ninth and the lineup turns over, it doesn't make an awful lot of difference. If you're going to be a leadoff hitter, you have to walk a little more. You have to take a few more pitches.
Swing and a miss. 2 strikes now to Dozier.
Other than that, it doesn't make an awful lot of difference. You have to be aware, wherever you are in the lineup, you have to be aware of the guys that are hitting behind you. You have to be aware of how you think a pitcher might pitch to you, not only because of your strengths and weaknesses, but the way he's going to consider you versus the next guy.
Santana started to take off and then stopped in his tracks. Dozier strikes out on 3 pitches, 1 down. Catch every strikeout, every game ender, and every history-making moment on MLB Whip Around. Weeknights at 9 p.m. Central on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Santana aboard Plouffe. Doubled down the left field line his first time up. Up and in, ball 1.
Back to your question about hitting different spots in the lineup. What I'm trying to say, I guess, is if you're going to hit first and second, they want you to have a higher on-base percentage, obviously. If you don't already have the potential to have a high on-base percentage, they're not going to put you up there anyway. So it shouldn't change your approach too much. If you draw a lot of walks and get on base, then they're going to put you up there.
Inside 2-0.
And you don't have to do that anymore necessarily than you normally would. If they come to you and say, look, we think you can be a high on base guy and you got to start doing different things, that's different. Generally, they don't do that. They see how a guy hits in the minor leagues and in the big leagues, and if he's got a high on base percentage capability, then they throw him up there at front.
That kicks away from Nieto to the backstop. Santana will round second and skid to a stop a third of the way to third. Wild pitch, sending Santana into scoring position. Not a good job by Nieto.
No, that was not a good effort, especially with a sinker light that moves as much as Carroll's does. It's almost like he wasn't used to that kind of movement. I'm sure he knows.
Now pitch charge. And now a strike, 3-1 to Plouffe.
See, that ball's moving down an awful lot, and Nieto thought he was going to catch that ball right at the dirt, and the ball just kept sinking down and one-hopped his glove.
Plouffe with a liner to right center field. It might run the gap. Santana will score. Plouffe has his second extra base hit. And a pair of doubles for Trevor Plouffe. One pulled down the line. The other one drilled to the right center field gap.
This is such a cool swing by Trevor. This is an example of the improvement that he's made this year. And when we show this again, I want you to see a little adjustment he made mid-stride. Watch how he lets the ball get back just a little deeper and just serves it into right field. That is really, really nice. You see the point of contact here on the left. The ball's deeper on the plate. No pull. You can see where the big end of the bat on the right is relative to his hands. The big end's not flipping out in front. He's hitting right back through the ball. Just served it right out there. That's against a sinker ball pitcher. You couldn't even draw it up any better. Hands inside the ball. Just serve it out there along the same plane that ball is moving. That was really, really good.
Here's Willingham. Strike one. All right, Twins have taken 2 walks, 4 hits, 3 early runs. In the hopes that yesterday might have shaken something loose. But let me ask you this. This ballpark has always been known as a great hitter's ballpark. We saw the Twins do something like this in Colorado right before the All-Star break, where the ball rolled foul. The Twins went to Colorado at the end of the road trip right before the All-Star break. Twins won 2 out of 3. They scored 24 runs. And no one's suggesting this is the American League version of Coors Field, yet this is a good hitter's ballpark. How much can that play into what we're seeing here from the Twins in this series, and for that matter, what we saw at Coors Field?
I think a lot.
And Willingham locked up on a breaking ball, takes a call, 3rd strike.
I think it's a real good and valid question, and the reason I say a lot is because baseball and hitting especially is such an issue of comfort, and you got to see the ball well here. As I look out there, the backdrop behind the pitcher, you have to see the ball well here, and you have to know in your mind that if you square it up, the ball is going to jump. And you look out in some ballparks against some teams and you say, where are the holes out there? It looks like there's a guy everywhere out there. And especially if you're slumping a little bit. But you come to a place like this or Colorado and you look around and say, I got to get aggressive and hit the ball hard. I think good things are going to happen here. And I think that comfort level, that expectation of success goes a long way.
Might help explain why Kurt Suzuki has done so well against the White Sox this year. If the White Sox come back and win this game, it may be because they figured out a way to get Suzuki to make 2 outs in 1 at bat. In the first inning, Suzuki hit into a double play. Now, a run scored, no RBI given Suzuki, but coming into that at bat, Suzuki had just been killing Chicago pitching at a .447 clip. 5 doubles, 10 runs batted in 10 games. And Carroll got him to bounce into a double play in the first inning. 1-1. Back 1-2.
What happens when a guy is really hitting well against a certain team is we look at how great those numbers are for Suzuki against the White Sox. It starts out with a little bit of a good matchup issue. Suzuki seeing the ball well against the pitchers that the White Sox run out there. Is a little bit of luck issue. Ball finds holes, and then it gets into this comfort and expectation of success mentally that I'm talking about. He expects to do well against this team.
Popped up here near the mound. Gillespie comes in, and ball almost popped out of the glove. Couple of hits, another run for the Twins, and it's 3-0.
Twins wasted no time. Danny Santana walked, Brian Dozier singled, and Trevor Plouffe ripped a double down the third base line to drive in Santana. And Trevor not done in the third inning with Santana aboard via a single. He ripped a double to right center, scoring Santana for 2 of the 3 Twins runs. In the meantime, Johan Pino through 2 innings, pitching very, very well, hitting his spots, mixing up his pitches. Off to a good start for the Twins.
Now, Alejandro De Aza will lead things off in the third for Chicago against Johan Pino. Pino fell behind Eaton, gave up a solid double off the fence in right, about halfway up the fence in the right field corner. And he's settled down and set down the last 6 batters. This ball up and in. Aza kind of stands there hunched over the inside corner. And, delivered a fastball just to remind him that he's there. Inside 2-0.
I'd stay in there a little bit against De Aza if I were Pino and Kurt Suzuki and in the game plan against him. He hits a lot of balls very well out over the plate. I think he's seen an awful lot of pitches inside.
3-0. We got Pino in trouble in the first inning. Behind Eaton, then had to come in, paid the price, but did not give up a run. De Aza, Nieto, and Eaton in the third. And a strike. And a walk puts him aboard. Bring up Adrian Nieto. Twin season ticket holders get 10% off concessions and merchandise every time they come to a game at Target Field. Twin season ticket sales reps are still offering season ticket packages for 2014. You can call 833-TWINS or visit twinsbaseball.com. Find out how you can in August join the Twin season ticket family. Nieto, nice job offensively. Coming out of Class A ball, a Rule 5 pickup. Big swing and a miss. Now, if you're in Class A ball, you figure I'm at least 2 years away from the big leagues. At least. If things break right, maybe in 2 years. And then all of a sudden, you get a phone call, probably from your agent, maybe from the White Sox in this case, saying, hey, we've drafted you in the Rule 5 draft, and here's an invitation to spring training, and we're going to give you a chance to win a spot on the roster. Check swing, 1-1. And Nieto, for his part, has handled things well enough to stay here in early August. Especially when you're a catcher. That's got to be quite flattering, I would think. You're toiling in Class A ball, and suddenly you're going to catch in the big leagues. There's a called strike on an off-speed pitch, 1-2.
Yeah, good pitch selection and execution there by Pino. 2 inside fastballs to get 1-1, and then flop a curveball in there. I like that pitch. But you're right. I think it says 2 things. One is, oops, the White Sox are a little bit depleted in the catching ranks in their minor league system, that they have to go to A ball in a Rule 5. But Nieto, I think, probably a good defensive catcher and a left-handed hitter.
And no relation to former Twin catcher Tom Nieto. Strikeout, 1 away.
So what that, being a left-handed hitting catcher, like being a left-handed pitcher, left-handed throwing pitcher, as we look at another really good curveball in a good spot from Pino to strike out Nieto. Really good pitch there. But you're a left-handed hitting catcher, you got a chance. There's not that many places where you can get offense and get a left-handed bat. Not many times that you get those from the catcher position. So a left-handed backup to a right-handed hitting Flowers, who's their normal catcher, that's pretty valuable.
Slow breaking ball snaps over for strike 1 to Eaton. Of course, A.J. Pierzynski played most of his career here. Mark Salas, who's the bullpen coach for the or catcher for the White Sox, It's a left-hand hitting catcher in his day.
Right, and you can get a job that way. And you think about it, Flowers is going to catch every day, and when he gets a day off, oftentimes it's going to be against a tough right-hander. So if you have a left-hander to go in and play for him, you got a better chance offensively, you would think, than running a backup catcher that's another right-hand hitter out there when you're trying to give your regular catcher a day off against a tough right-hander.
One strike to Eaton. He was giving up just the one hit. It was to Eaton, a leadoff double in the first. It's down the left field line. And another ball down the line for Eaton. And he'll have another double. So he's hit one down the right field line, now one down the left field line. Second and third with one out.
Well, he's been an impressive player against the Twins, hasn't he? He just doesn't look like there's any place you can pitch him to get him out. Of course, balls in the middle of the plate don't help. The first one right in the middle of a 3-1 count. That one high and moving away, not bad movement, but against Eaton it doesn't really matter because he sets up to hit the ball that way anyway.
Willingham actually did a nice job backhanding that hop and getting it back in, holding Diaz at third base. Here's Beckham. Busted bat, a roller to second. Rupp will score at number 2. Right off the end of the bat, weakly to Dozier. Diaz scores, it's 3-1. And now Jose Abreu up with a runner at third. This time 2 outs, but again 2 bases are open.
Good breaking ball away. Oh my goodness. It almost knocked himself, broke a bat and knocked himself out in the same swing.
Oh, right around the collar or the neck area. Yeah. Ooh. Abreu with a long at bat ended up popping up to Parmeling, short right field.
Going right back out there with that breaking ball that got him before.
Ball 1. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. And Abreu, with 21 games in a row, he's picked up a hit. He had 10 straight plate appearances where he reached before Pino finally got him on the pop-up in the first inning. 2-0. The count ran full to Abreu. Pino threw a curveball on the outside corner, and Abreu, as we told you, doesn't like to walk much. Pino hasn't come close to throwing him a strike here. Carsoup.com trivia question: who owns the longest hit streak during a rookie season? And Abreu takes a 4-pitch walk. That was about as intentional and unintentional walk as you're going to find. And now done with 2 on and 2 out.
I like what Kurt Suzuki did there. They weren't going to give him anything to hit to tie the game up or to drive in that run for their second run. And Suzuki just moved out, put his whole body out there on the outside corner as if to say it's going to be on the corner or off. They were all off, but that's quite all right. You got a chance to get this guy.
High pop-up left field. Willingham coming in. Santana in the vicinity. A run for the White Sox, but they leave 2. It's a 3-1 ball game.
I enjoy a lot my first game. First 3 innings, a little bit nervous, but late in the game, I try to be more focused in my work, and I think I did pretty good.
Well, he certainly did. He hit a foul ball down the left field line in his first at bat tonight, ending the first inning. He will get his opportunities at least until Joe Mauer comes back from his rehab assignment. A sharp ground ball on the first pitch. Vargas has his second major league hit. A single to go along with his 2-run double last night.
Well, he's very, very raw, that's for sure. That big, strong guy stays with that ball very well. The ball's sinking. He had been hitting over the top of those his first time up, but he stayed through that one nicely. He's just so strong and muscle that ball on the ground through the infield. But he's very, very raw, but shows an awful lot of promise to me. I think you can see it already. For a big guy that's as raw as he is, pretty controlled approach at the plate.
Carroll back to the stretch. He's yet to retire a leadoff man in any of the 4 innings. Leadoff walk in the first, leadoff error in the second, leadoff single in the third, and now another leadoff single here in the fourth. I want to see some signs of life from Arcia's bat. It's less of an issue from the right side. He's really struggled from against left-handed pitching. Arcia hitting 155 against lefties. Against righties hitting 241. Well, a year ago we were excited about Arcia and his promise, and he hasn't taken a step forward in his second exposure to big league pitching. Fouled away 1-2.
He's backed up a little bit this year. There's no question about it. He's gone a little bit backwards, and certainly from where the kind of year that I thought he was going to have this year. He's really, really struggling with some mechanics, some swing mechanics issues.
Base hit to right field, and that will chase Viciedo toward the gap. And Vargas will scamper to third.
Scamper? Really? Did that look like
Chug? Would you prefer Chug?
There's a nice swing by Arcia, staying down with the ball. We've seen him pull off of that ball and off. And here's the scampering by the big 250-pound Kenny Vargas. Actually moves pretty well, moves that big body pretty well.
Chris Parmelee bounced into a double play his first time up. Chance for the Twins to keep adding on runs. We talked about the game last night from the Twins' perspective, scoring as many runs as they did and ended up not winning the ball game. From the White Sox perspective, they should have won the ball game too, because they scored in just about every inning. That's what the Twins would like to keep doing here through the middle innings. 1 strike to Parmelee. Pulled foul, 2 strikes.
One thing that we've seen Twins opponents do is when they jump out to an early lead in the first or second inning, 2 runs or 3 runs, they seem to have the ability to keep adding on, 1 here, 1 there, the rest of the game. That really is what the Twins need to do. They've jumped out to a lead here. Keep being aggressive, keep battling, keep putting a number, some kind of number on the board every inning that you possibly can.
Parmelee to Beckham. It's another double play. Run scores. Vargas in from third. It's 4-1. Parmelee having a tough night. 0 for 2, making 4 outs. That'll bring up Escobar. Four innings so far, not even 4 complete innings, but the White Sox have turned 3 double plays. Escobar grounded to first his first time up. Strike on the outside corner. When you've only played for 2 teams in the big leagues, as Escobar has, and teammates from both clubhouses talk about what a great clubhouse guy you are, you should feel pretty good about yourself. And I think Escobar has made as strong an impression here in Minnesota as he did with the White Sox. Another chopper to first. Abreu with the play. The Twins add another run in the 4th. Stay tuned for this important message from Mesh Besher and Smith. You know, 4-1 Twins, bottom of the 4th. Pino made his major league debut against the White Sox on June 19th. And that was a good start, not involved in the decision. Then he had a couple of losses against the Angels and the Royals. Then, as Fox Tracks is presented by Jeep, as we rolled into July, he really started pitching pretty well. His record in July, 1-1 with an ERA of just over 3, including another good start against the White Sox, good start against the Mariners, and a better start against the Yankees. So now August is starting on an encouraging note with 1 run allowed, 2 hits, 2 walks over 3 innings. 1-1 to Ramirez, hit a fly ball to right his first time up. And a long way down the left field line. It hit the pole, and it's a home run for Ramirez. A towering fly ball, and Ramirez hits his 11th home run of the year.
Alexi Ramirez is up in the box and up on the plate and trying to make everything inside so that he can do exactly that. Looked like a low inside fastball or a middle inside fastball.
That one hit to right center field. Arcia with the call on the catch. Gillespie retired, 1 down.
I really believe a guy like that who is so clearly wanting to pull the ball if he can. He's trying to make everything appear or be inside to him, underneath his hands, so he can hit it to left field like that. I really believe that you have to pitch him in off the plate a lot and then go outside to get him.
Viciedo takes down an away ball 1.
I think you can get Alexi Ramirez in a big hurry if you show him enough pitches inside, and then he'll get himself out on anything away.
The outside corner. First home run the White Sox have hit against Pino in 3 starts. And just the 4th home run he's allowed. Foul back. 1-2.
He's a good player. Sorry, make a really uncharacteristic error early in the game. Come back with a diving double, start of a double play, and then hit a home run. The guy's a complete player as Pino comes right back and throws the ball by Viciedo.
At 91 miles per hour, join the Minnesota Lynx for the Dads and Daughters Ticket Offer, presented by Fox Sports North, Tuesday, August 12th, against the Los Angeles Sparks. For just $33, fans receive 2 tickets to the game and a drawstring backpack. For details, visit foxsportsnorth.com. Click on the More tab for details. 2 gone, bases empty, and here's De Aza, who drew a leadoff walk in the 3rd. A couple of at-bats later, Eaton doubled. White Sox were in business. They got De Aza in for their first run, and now Ramirez with a leadoff home run here in the 4th. 1 strike. It's down the left field line. And Willingham again has to backhand the first hop. De Aza doing essentially what Eaton did in the 3rd inning.
And that's why I was saying is in De Aza's first at bat, I just don't think he's proven he can handle the ball inside on his hands yet. And he's certainly not going to worry about that pitch away that he flips to left field if he never sees any ball inside. Watch this. Fastball moving away, just stays with it, flips it out there to left field. If a guy's able to do that after seeing a breaking ball, that he's looking for the ball out over the plate. He doesn't want it inside. I'd really like to see Kurt just pound him in a little bit and see what happens.
4 hits for the White Sox, 3 doubles and a home run. And now Adrian Nieto is struck out against Pino in the 3rd. Slow breaking ball, missing ball 1. Pino in 6 innings gave up a couple of runs to the White Sox on July 27th in his debut. 7 innings and a couple of runs. 2 3 2/3 innings here tonight. 2-0. Nieto with 78 at bats, 29 strikeouts. Swing and a foul.
Good call there by Kurt Suzuki. You saw the wiggling of the fingers if you were watching the catcher sign. That usually signifies a change up. 2-0 fastball count. Threw a change up to fool Nieto.
2-1. 3-1, and Pino doesn't want to have to face Eaton with the tying run at first.
No, you're right. This is the guy they want to get right here.
Softly to Dozier, and that ends it. Home run and a double in the 4th. And it's a 4-2 ball game. Twins in front. Trevor Plouffe already has a couple of doubles. He'll hit in the 5th. kickstart fans of the game. Twins fans always seem to find a lot of Twins fans here, particularly when there's a weekend series. Summertime, Chicago, a great destination. An easy drive, inexpensive flight, train trip.
Yeah, why wouldn't you come down to Chicago on the weekend?
Strike on the outside corner.
Walk around Michigan Avenue, see the Twins at night. We saw a lot of Twins fans last night leaving the ballpark, yelling at us.
In a kind way. At least that's how I took it. Pop fly to left, and De Aza comes over to make a catch. Santana retired for the first time tonight, going down. We'll bring up Dozier. Carroll survived. He now has retired a leadoff man for the first time tonight. He's, to his credit, I guess, benefited from 3 ground ball double plays. Twins have left a couple men on, but they've scored 4 times. Dozier scoring once, singling and scoring in the first, striking out in the third. Strike on the outside corner. We talk about Dozier and how it sure looks like he's going to score 100 runs this year. Santana is an interesting guy. He scored twice tonight. He scored 29 runs in 51 ball games. And you can use your imagination just a little bit, I think. There's a chopper to third. First hop fielded by Gillespie. 2 down. But you can imagine Santana threatening to score 100 runs a game too once he gets a little experience under his belt. 2 down, bases empty for Trevor Plouffe, who already has a couple of doubles.
He's had 2 really good at bats. He got a sinker down and in and went with that pitch just the way you're supposed to hit it. And then got a sinker out away from the plate and went with that pitch just the way you're supposed to hit it. 2 very, very good at bats. Good swings by Trevor.
14 outs for Carroll, 9 of them on the ground. Here's Plouffe. Strike on the outside corner. No issue apparent with Carroll and the blister that surfaced after 6 innings at Target Field on Sunday. Strike 2. Although there is now activity in the Chicago bullpen. 70 pitches, modest amount, just about 5 innings completed. Oh, 0-2 to Plouffe. Half swing, I think he went. And Plouffe is gone. And Carroll has his best inning in the 5th, what might be his last inning.
fans, don't forget at Twins home games, bring your Circle Me signs. If you get circled, you may find yourself in the Minnesota Lottery winner's circle, where you could win $100 worth of lottery scratch-off tickets, courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery.
Johan Pino faced 6 men in the third, gave up a run, faced 5 men in the fourth, gave up a run. Like to get back on the beam here and have a nice quick fifth, sixth inning. Facing Adam Eaton to start the fifth. And again, falling behind Eaton. Gave up a double in the first. Eaton pulling the ball hard against the right field fence. And then a pop fly double down the left field line in the third. 1-1.
Eaton, the type of hitter that's going to be trying to hit the ball in the center of the diamond or to the left field, unless he gets a specific count like that first time up 3-1. But that's his game right there.
Will actually drive Willingham back near the warning track, 1 away. Bring up Gordon Beckham. When asked about Pino and where he might fit into the rotation next year, Ron Gardenhire was very blunt. He's auditioning. And with names like Trevor May, Alex Meyer, maybe some others, maybe getting some exposure here in the big leagues before this season is out. Twins have the contracts that they will carry forward into next year with Nolasco and Hughes. I think everyone would expect Kyle Gibson to be a part of the rotation next year, but there are at least 2 openings. Pino trying to be in the mix.
I don't think there's any question that next spring training in 2015, it will be a tryout for the other 2 spots. And there's, for the first time in a while, some names that the Twins and Twins fans can be pretty excited about in terms of that competition.
Right off the end of the bat. And Beckham, who drove in a run with a ground ball off the end of the bat, shattering his bat in the third, nearly did the same thing again here in the fifth. 1-out single. We'll bring up Abreu. Third plate appearance for Abreu in the first inning. Pino ran the count full, but he went after him, got him on a pop-up, and in the third inning didn't seem too interested in pitching to him and walked him before getting done in the third inning. White Sox didn't tip their toe in the water on this guy. They jumped in. 6 years. 6 years for Jose Abreu.
Interesting take for strike one right there. After all the outside breaking balls that Pino has thrown Abreu, he absolutely frozen. I can't imagine why Abreu would go up and say, I'm just going to take one just because in my third at bat. Fastball right in the hot zone that we saw earlier that looked like where would be the wampum zone for Abreu, and he took it. Now going back with that breaking ball.
Bounce to short. Dozier with the pivot and double play. And not a 1-2-3 inning, but Pino faces just 3 men in the fifth. you photos from the series against the White Sox. Read the latest from Vikings training camp. Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus together again at a golf event in Minnesota in the 3M Classic. The Twins here in the 6th inning will send up the middle of their lineup: Willingham, Suzuki, and Vargas. Carroll out there to pitch in the 6th inning. The White Sox had some bullpen activity warming up in the 5th, and again starting the 6th. It can't be the pitch count, just 71 pitches, so we'll see how it plays out here. Willingham takes inside, nearly got hit in the shoulder, ball 1. Carroll, at least the second pitcher this year to leave a ball game because of a blister in pitching against the Twins. Nice pickup by Ramirez. He sets and fires well in. Earlier this year, Anibal Sanchez was cruising through the Twins lineup, and then he had a really nasty blister and had to go on the disabled list because of it. It's apparent that Carroll getting an extra day of rest. His blister issue isn't as serious as Sanchez's was. 1 down on the 6th. Here is Suzuki. Suzuki has gone 0 for 2 tonight. In the first inning, he hit into the first of 3 ground ball double plays the Twins have hit into. Then in the 3rd, he popped up to Gillespie to end the 3rd inning and leave Plouffe at second base. 2-0. An important road trip for Suzuki, signing his contract extension while the team was in Kansas City. 2-1.
Great signing by the Twins, I think. We talked about it on the day that he did get the extension. We talked with Kurt, how happy he is. But I thought that was a very, very important move, and good move by the Twins.
Chopper to 3rd, Gillespie. Number 2. Vargas stands in. Music fans, you can check out Target Field. Head on down to the ballpark next weekend, 8th and 9th, for the 2-night Skyline Music Festival. Friday is Indie Night featuring Andrew Bird and 4 other bands, and then Saturday it's Melissa Etheridge and OAR. Go to twinsbaseball.com for ticket details and enjoy music at the ballpark during the 2014 Skyline Music Festival. Here's Vargas, 1 for 2. Drilled into right field, out of the reach of Beckham. Guy's been in the big leagues 2 days, and they're already shifting him.
I wonder how many hit charts there are down there in the Eastern League. That ball was a rocket right there, hit through the shift. High sinker. He just drilled. You see how still he keeps his head? That's why I say the swing is under control. It's not overly long for a big guy. I really have been impressed here so far. And I kind of expected a pretty good ball game from Vargas tonight because of how much different the stuff he was going to see was going to be tonight than was last night in his debut against Chris Sale. And that is no denigration of Scott Carroll at all, meant that in the least. I don't think any pitcher in the American League would be too offended by saying stuff's not quite the same as Sales.
1 strike to Arcia after a foul ball. 2 strikes, 77 mile-per-hour off-speed pitch. Arcia's reached twice, once on an error, and then with 2 strikes, he drove a sharp single over the reach of Beckham. The single was over the reach of Ramirez, who shifted over to the right side. 1-2. 2-2. Giving up 2 runs in the first, 1 in the third, another 1 in the fourth. That sent down 7 men in a row before Vargas' single. Right off the end of the bat. And that wraps up the 6th inning. 12 ground ball outs for Carroll, but he trails 4-2. The annual clearance event is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. By Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. And by McDonald's, where right now you can score a delicious, creamy McCafe iced coffee starting at just $1.59. Adam Dunn leading off the 6th inning. Twins in front 4-2. Pino faced just 3 men in the 5th after giving up single runs in innings 3 and 4. 1-0. And now 1-1. Rick Hahn, the general manager for the White Sox, said that he expects the White Sox will be busy in August, if not making trades, at least listening to offers. And you would think Dunn would be a marketable player for them. And a very slow 71-mile-per-hour breaking pitch for strike 2. Can still play in the field a little bit at first base. But more than likely, if he's dealt, it would be to an American League team. And called third strike. Dunn taking a fastball on the outside corner, 1 away. Second time that Pino has struck out Dunn. Sanford Health Injury Report. Earlier we showed you Paul Goldschmidt leading the National League in runs scored. He won't be scoring runs for a while. Broke his left hand, hit by a pitch in the 9th inning. It's been a miserable year for the Diamondbacks on many fronts. And now their best players down for a good long while.
Got worse. What a shame.
Ramirez homered off the foul pole his last time up, takes ball 1. 17 home runs over the last 2 seasons, 7 of them against the Twins for Ramirez. This one hit to center, and Santana retreats. Out number 2. Fox Sports Supports is proud to collaborate with Stand Up to Cancer, a groundbreaking initiative created to accelerate innovative cancer research that gets new therapies to patients quickly in order to save lives now. For more information, visit foxsportsupports.com. Pino recovering here in the middle innings after the Ramirez home run. Now he'll face Connor Gillespie. Just off the outside corner. Pino is, in his last 15 pitches, has gotten 5 outs.
He's done a nice job of starting guys off with that slow breaking ball. I think that's a real effective strategy as well.
What a stop by Parmalee. Pino at the bag. A 1-2-3-6. Pino doing a nice job getting a little help from Parmalee. He has a 1-2-3-6 and a 2-run lead after 6.
Trevor Plouffe having himself a very nice night. Doubled in the first run for the Twins, then doubled in another one the second time up. Twins jumped out to a 4-2 lead here as we go to the top of the 7th. Yohan Pino has pitched very, very well.
And Pino with a chance to pick up his second major league win. Twins trying to add on some runs here in the 7th. It'll be Parmalee, Escobar, and Santana. Has to be relieved. There's nobody on base. He's bounced into 2 double plays already tonight. And he takes strike 1. Fox Tracks presented by Carrier. Parmalee, Escobar, Santana. Facing Scott Carroll, who keeps looking over his right shoulder and sees activity in the Chicago bullpen, but he's still out there pitching. Here's a high pop pretty near the tarp and out of play. Parmalee with 5 home runs, a walk-off home run, the highlight of his year, but a couple of late inning home runs too that could have been huge home runs for the Twins, only to see the bullpen give runs back. Parmalee last night getting a home run, putting the Twins in front late, but then Casey Fiend had a bad inning. In Boston, Parmalee hit what could have been just a hugely dramatic turnaround home run. Beyond the game itself, it could have done wonders for the Twins team. Hit it against Koji Uehara into the bullpen area, but then again Casey Fiend gave up a couple of home runs to Ortiz and Napoli, and Parmalee, who found himself taken off the 40-man roster, then added back on, has hit some potentially huge home runs late in games, but the payoff hasn't been there in terms of a team win. One and 2. To center and hit pretty well. He retreats on the track. Makes the catch 1 away. That'll bring up Escobar. Escobar with a couple of ground balls to Abreu.
Twins need to get something going here. The White Sox have been staring at a 2-run deficit ever since the first inning. Twins jumped out 2-0. Then in the third, it scored another one to make it 3. But the White Sox came back with a run. In the third and fourth, the Twins scored, but the White Sox came back with a run of their own. It's 4-2 here in the top of the 7th. And the way these games go, you start getting a feeling like if you don't add on and put the game away, things are going to get dicey in the late innings. Really good to see Twins get a little rally going, put another number, just a different number for the White Sox to look at.
Strike on the outside corner, 1-1. And fouled over the Chicago dugout. Disappointing season for the Twins, but within it there's been some personal success stories. Now Escobar getting close to 300 at-bats this year, and if nothing else, he's solidified his standing in the big leagues, at the very least as a very good utility player, and he's done a great job as the everyday shortstop over the last couple of months. 2 down. Bring up Santana. Believe it or not, Zubas are back. Twins are going to have Twins Zubas night Friday, September 19th. The Twins taking on the Indians. It's Zubas Palooza night at Target Field, where a ticket and a pair of Zubas can cost as little as $26. As I said regarding my Zubas, if they were never in style, they can't possibly be out of style, right? Call 800-33-TWINS. Ask for the special Zubas Palooza ticket offer, or visit twinsbaseball.com/Zubas for tickets.
Well, the other thing is if you hold on to them long enough, at some point in time they might be in style.
1-0 to Santana. Swing and a miss. A violent swing. 1-1.
Well, good for Danny. I actually like that. Ahead of the count, 1-0. Cheating on a fastball a little bit. Trying to really put a charge in one. For one, giving away 1 strike, that's not a bad plan at all.
A strike on the outside corner, 1-2.
Gary Cederstrom, the home plate umpires really like that outside corner, the left-handers. There's a lot of pitches out there from both pitchers. Look like they might be coming around the plate. Gary likes them.
Roof of the Twins dugout. Agree that you can imagine Santana scoring in the neighborhood of 100 runs as he gets more experience and more at-bats?
I absolutely think so. I absolutely agree with you.
Foul ball. In the stolen base department, he's 6 for 8.
The great advantage that Brian Dozier has as a run scorer, as we've been talking about him as well, is he can knock himself in 19 or 20 times a year. I think Danny Santana will be a top of the lineup guy, first or second in his career, and he's going to score a lot of runs.
Rolled on the ground to Beckham. Carroll finishing strongly here. A 1-2-3 7th inning. Thank you very much, Anthony. 4-2 here. Diane Viciedo with a foul back on the first pitch from Johan Pino. And another foul back. Here's Pino. 6 innings again against the White Sox. 2 runs allowed. In his debut, he went 7 innings. Twins didn't give him any run support. Gave up just 2 runs, but didn't get the win. He's got a chance to pick up a win here today, and the Twins are asking him to get through this 7th inning. Just 80 pitches thrown so far. 1 and 2. No activity in the Twins bullpen. Pino, after giving up single runs in innings 3 and 4, faced 3 men in the 5th, 3 men in the 6th. To center. Santana slams on the brakes, and it's a leadoff single for Viciedo. These are notes from around the league. John Lester made his A's debut. Sam Fuld with a tremendous throw in center field. Decent numbers for Lester. Not so good for C.J. Wilson coming off the disabled list. And Yoenis Cespedes playing for his new team. Singled in his first at bat. Here is De Aza. Walked and scored in the 3rd. Doubled in the 4th with 2 outs and was left there. Beautiful bunt. And it just hugs the grass. A perfectly placed bunt by De Aza.
Can't do it much better. Trevor Plouffe was playing in it, anticipating a possible bunt. De Aza dropped it down beautifully.
1st and 2nd, nobody out here in the 7th.
What I love about that is how still he kept his head, and he got the ball down before he started to run. That was very Rod Carew-like. He moved up in the batter's box so that he was way into fair territory when he bunted the ball.
Quick trip to the mound by Rick Anderson, and now there is activity in the Twins bullpen. Jared Burton and Brian Dunston getting loose. You know, that's probably an important part of bunting, what you just said there. The point of contact, getting it out in front of home plate so you widen the angle in which you can bunt fairly.
Absolutely right. The 2 things that I learned about bunting for hits, even though I didn't do that a lot, I bunted for sacrifice a lot, but not for hits. But I watched Rodney Klein, and he was terrific at moving up in the box and keeping his head real still, bunting the ball first before he started to run.
Nieto takes ball 1 in a bunting situation. Armley and Plouffe playing in. Nieto 0 for 2, a strikeout in the 3rd, a soft line drive to Dozier in the 4th. Pino wants a different baseball.
As we watch the Twins defense there get ready for the bunt, one thing that I don't see as often as I saw when I was a kid growing up watching baseball games, and when I was playing and first came in the league, there were first basemen, really good first basemen. Wes Parker for the Dodgers, Ron Farrell, Bill White with the Cardinals. In a bunt situation like this, they'd be right on top of the hitter. And we see Parmelee quite a ways back and waiting for the square by the hitter before he charges. And see where Parmelee is when he ends up. That's where those guys would start. I mean, they would just dare the guy to swing away, because this is such an obvious bunting situation. 2 guys on, a tying run at first base, the number 9 hitter up. I just don't think there's any doubt that he's going to be bunted.
Off the plate, Pino sets and fires to first. A successful sacrifice. Tying run now at 2nd, 1 away. Another guy who was good at it, a little more contemporary player than the guys you mentioned, Keith Hernandez.
Absolutely outstanding, a Gold Glove first baseman, but he would be right down the hitter's throat.
Pino getting through the Chicago lineup 3 times. He's got a lead. He can win the ball game. He can't lose it, but he will leave the game with Brian Dunston coming in 2 men in scoring position and 1 out.
It's presented by authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Minnesota Twins, LLC.
Brian Dunsing comes into the ball game. He pitched here last night, inning of the third, gave up a hit. He'll be asked to get Eaton here, and then Burton, presumably, if that's done, would be asked to get Beckham to get the Twins through the seventh with the lead. Viciedo at third, De Aza at second with 1 away. Base hit, left center field. It'll tie the game. Throw coming home, and a throw at second might have gotten Eaton. On Dunsing's first pitch, Eaton gets his third hit of the ball game.
Insult to injury right there with a base hit to tie the game, but also a throw in the wrong direction by 2 players, actually. Ryan throws a breaking ball strike to Eaton. He is just so content to let the ball get deep and slap it the other way. Great hitting by Eaton. But watch this right now. The runner's going to score anyway. Danny Santana throws to the shortstop when it should have gone to second. And then shortstop Escobar turns around and fires at home when there was absolutely no chance. He should have turned, thrown to second to get Eaton.
Tie ball game.
to left center to drive in the 2 runs. Now watch here as Eaton takes off. By the time Santana gets this ball and throws on the run, that ball has got to go to second base to keep the potential go-ahead and winning run. Eaton off of second base, but it went into the shortstop, Escobar, who threw home. And that's just a mistake, not being aware that you've got the go-ahead run running the second on those throws. That ball had to go to second base right away.
Jared Burton will come in with the White Sox having tied it. All 4 runs charged to Pino. Now the go-ahead run at second with only 1 out. Now they've changed it to a double. So 3 doubles for Eaton. 1 to right, 1 to left, now 1 to center. Beckham is 1 for 3, singled his last time up. To right field. Going back is Arcia. Off the wall. Eaton around third. They're going to wave him in, and now the throw to second base over the cutoff man. Safe. Fundamental breakdowns in the field for the Twins have made matters worse. Arcia overshot Dozier, who would have had a clean shot at Eaton at the plate. And the White Sox take the lead.
Gordon Beckham drills one to right field over Arcia's head. You see Brian Dozier start to go out for the relay. Arcia airmails the ball to second base. And that's a mistake. Brian Dozier went out to get the relay. The ball has got to go to Dozier in that spot. I think Brian should have been lined up more toward home, but you see him waving his hands. And Arcia overshoots him, trying to get the guy at second base, the batter runner, when it has to go to the cutoff man to cut off the runner trying to score.
Meanwhile, for the 3rd game in a row, the Twins bullpen has given up some crippling hits with men on base in the late innings. It happened in the final game in Kansas City. It happened last night. Dunsing threw 1 pitch to Eaton, and the game was tied. And Burton's first pitch to Beckham resulted in the go-ahead double. And now an intentional walk to Abreu. Abreu now 0 for 2 with 2 walks. His hitting streak in jeopardy. I'm going to go with Ichiro Suzuki.
How about this guy?
Benito Santiago. The Padres. Here is Adam Dunn.
Going back to that play on the ball that Beckham hit, I understand why Arcia was thinking second base, because
liner to right. Arcia with the catch. Beckham will tag first and third. And again, the White Sox jumping on the first pitch. It's been the theme of this 7th inning.
I understand why Arcia thought that he might have a play at the runner at second base, or the batter runner, because Eaton was on second. You figure the ball hit over your head, it looks like a double. The guy on second's got to score easily, but Eaton had gone back to second thinking that Arcia might catch that ball. He was going back to potentially tag up. And so when the ball dropped over Arcia's head, he had to run almost the full 180 feet to score. But even with that, the ball's got to be down where the cutoff man can be in the play.
Inside, ball 1. Twins led all night long until the bottom of the 7th inning. Ramirez flanked a home run off the foul pole and left back in the 4th inning. Fouled off his foot, and then I think it came up and hit his bat again. Foul ball to Plouffe, and Ramirez will try to limp it off. What's going on with the bullpen, Roy? It's 3 games in a row where guys have come in. It happened to Casey Fiend last night. And it's like an ambush. White Sox last night and the Royals the night before, jumping on the first pitch and slashing base hits all over the ballpark.
And what I've seen the last 3 nights, basically, the bullpen has come in and thrown the first pitch. The hitters are ready to swing, and the pitchers have thrown the ball right down the middle.
Base hit to right. It'll be another Chicago run. Beckham coming in from third. And the 9th man to bat, Gillespie, will come up here in the 7th inning. And Burton will leave, having faced 4 men and retiring just 1 in his relief out.
And the 1 out he got was on a first pitch fastball down the middle that got hammered right at the right fielder.
White Sox lead by 2. The AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photo to #NorthFanPhoto for a chance to be shown in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by AT&T. Twins had a lead, but every minute of this game until the bottom of the 6th, Johan Pino didn't give up a hit with a runner in scoring position tonight, and then the bullpen comes in and 3 of the first 4 guys get a base hit with men in scoring position. There's another guy out there, and it'll be Ryan Presley trying to get the Twins off the field finally here in the 7th. Parmalee gets the second hop over to Presley, and that takes care of it. 9 men bat, 4 of them score, and the White Sox have the lead. think Tomey actually finished his career with the Baltimore Orioles. They acquired him at the end. And again, if there's a little... Remember, Belisario ran into trouble at Target Field with the rosin bag. He had too much rosin on his arm. But one of the great ironies in terms of a career, Tomey's last hit as a big leaguer was an infield hit. We're used to seeing 450-foot shots off his bat, and he actually got an infield hit. Last hit of his great career. Dozier taking ball one from Belisario, who had a bit of a meltdown at Target Field last weekend on the Sunday afternoon game. He was told to take I don't know if you call it jewelry, but a bracelet,
kind of
bracelet off, and then he had to wipe off some of the rosin that he had caked on his forearm. And he proceeded to really have a tough outing. Ended up being tagged with the loss, and the only game the Twins won in that 4-game series.
Threw a lot of pitches like that last one he just threw. All of a sudden, after cleaning himself up and removing jewelry, he couldn't find the strike zone.
I remember when I was a kid listening to a game on the radio. It would have been early 60s. And Jim Cott was pitching. And the Cleveland manager at the time, Bertie Tebbets, had Jim change undershirts. So there was a raggy sleeve or something like that. And so the game was delayed. Jim went in, changed his undershirt, came back out, and the Indians lit him up. And then later, when I got a chance to work with Jim on the air, I asked him about that, and he remembered it very well. And he said, yeah, there's a chopper headed to short. Ramirez makes the play. He said, yeah, he was a veteran at the time, 62, 63, whatever it was, but he really let the maneuver by the Cleveland manager get in his head a little bit and get him out of his rhythm a little bit. And it sure looked like that's kind of what happened to Belisario at Target Field.
It really did look like that, and if it wasn't, it was hugely coincidental because he'd been pitching pretty well up until that appearance, and then just, as you called it, melted down.
Trevor Plouffe, Twins finding themselves now in familiar territory, late innings, down a couple of runs. Plouffe with a couple of doubles, and then he struck out in the fifth. Two strikes. Belisario was the closer. The White Sox have had 5 different guys close games for them this year. White Sox bullpen seems to be coming together a little bit at about the same time the Twins bullpen is really scuffling. Well, Plouffe has hits to all 3 fields now. A double down the left field line, one to right center field, and now one toward the right field corner. Willingham comes up representing the tying run. Catch all of the action of baseball's second half on MLB.TV Premium. Watch every out-of-market game live in true high definition on more than 400 devices. Visit twinsbaseball.com today to find out how you can subscribe to the #1 sports streaming service in America. Willingham the batter, and the Twins need a long ball.
Real nice at bat by Trevor Plouffe there to get Willingham up, representing the tying run. When you have a deflating inning like that, another team comes that throws a 4-spot on you after you had a 2-run lead. Now you have a 2-run deficit as you come to your bench. Somebody's got to get it going. Somebody has to have a good at bat.
1-1.
And get things going again. And Trevor got it 0-2 count quickly, but had a very, very nice approach and swing at the 0-2 fastball. And a base hit to right, and now they got a little something going again. You have to jump right back in the fray when you give it up like that. You have to keep battling back, and somebody's got to get it started.
And Willingham hit by a pitch. Belisario puts 2 men on here with 1 out. Suzuki and Vargas due up.
I think this got Josh right above the elbow. Yeah, just that's a painful spot right there.
The point of the elbow. Eduardo Nunez is going to run for Willingham. 13 pitchers. There are only a few bench moves that they can make. And they're making one now, getting Willingham out of the game.
That's what I mean about getting the inning started, though. Nice at bat by Trevor Plouffe. Somebody have a good at bat and get on there and see what happens. Give Belisario a chance to blow up again. He hits Willingham. Now the Twins have a rally going with a very, very clutch hitter at the plate.
Suzuki's worn the White Sox out this year, just not tonight. He takes strike one. Suzuki bounced into a big double play in the first inning. Popped up in the third. Get a ground ball again in the sixth. Sox outfield playing deep. Trying to cut off an extra base hit. 1-1. So many things are connected in this game strategically. The White Sox now with Nunez in the game, they might not play the outfield so deep if Willingham is the tying run and he's the runner at first. There's a ball hit to the right field side, a base hit. Plouffe around third. They're going to wave him in. The throw coming to second. And the Twins come back with at least one. And Nunez at second with one away. Rosario hearing it from Chicago's unfaithful.
Well, great job by Suzuki again. Sinker down and away. Doesn't try to pull it. Slaps it to right. It's the kind of thing we were talking about with Kurt Suzuki. He takes what the pitcher gives him. He knows what he can do. He knows what his strengths are. Doesn't try to come outside of his approach. Just a real professional hitter, time after time, at bat after at bat this year from the opening day.
Vargas with the tying run at second, one away. And Robin Ventura is going to make a move here. Jake Petrichka has been warming up. And he may be asked to pick up a 5-out save here. Slow walk to the mound by Ventura. And again, we don't know whether a change is going to be made. We haven't seen a gesture yet with Don Cooper still not. And now the move is made. Belisario's really had a couple of rough outings against the Twins. He was backing up Petrichka last night in the 9th inning when the Twins were threatening to get it tied up. And here they're threatening in the 8th. on the Twins. White Sox scored 4 runs in the 7th, and now the Twins will have Vargas up in an RBI spot. He's already got 2 hits again tonight.
He's had 2 real good at bats. Muscled a ground ball through the infield for his first one, and then just hit a rocket to right field through the shift that the White Sox put on him his last time up. He saw Petrichka last night, struck out, took a called third strike on a real nasty inside comeback 2-seamer that came back and caught the inside corner. So he has seen his stuff, which is an advantage. You know, the funny thing, Dick, I will tell you that for some guys, hitting in the big leagues is easier than hitting in Double-A for this reason. You see the lights are so much better. The ballpark, you see the ball so much better in the big leagues than you do in Double-A. And pitchers are around the plate a lot. They're not throwing the ball to the screen every other pitch.
Strike 1 to Vargas. Vargas is a big leaguer, 3 for 8, double, 2 singles. And a single here to the outfield should tie the game. 1-1. One thing they say of Vargas in his last couple of years, he's really improved his plate discipline. Took a strike. Took a ball. Fouls one. 93-mile-per-hour fastball, 1-2.
And if I remember the at-bat that he had last night, he saw all power sinkers last night. That's all he's seen now. He's not seen a changeup or any kind of breaking ball.
Chop to the left side. And the play is at first base. Vargas hits a slow bouncer to advance 2 runners, committing the second out. That'll bring up Arcia. Nunez at third. He's the tying run. And Suzuki now at second. Arcia 1 for 3. Runners at second and third, and that will hinder the White Sox from putting on their usual shift for Arcia. Down and in, ball 1.
See if Arcia can get a low fastball, which would be his wheelhouse. He's a low fastball hitter. See if he can get one into his swing.
Driven to left, hit hard, off the glove of Diaza, and 2 runs will score. Arcia to second base, and the Twins are back in front.
I will say that that's the best at bat that Oswaldo Arcia has had since he's been in the big leagues. Diaz is shaking his head because he thought he should have had it, and probably should have. But for Arcia to go up to the plate in a big situation like that, knowing that Petrichka throws the ball, it sinks down and away, and hit the ball to left field, to set up to hit to left field and do that when he has worked and worked and worked, and being able to hit the ball that direction, not try to pull everything. That is a very successful at bat in a big situation for the young man.
Twins answer with a 3 spot. Arcia at second, 2 down. Here's Parmelee. Swing and a miss.
We have seen so many times Oswaldo Arcia swing over the top of sinking fastballs like that, get out in front of changeups and curveballs, trying to pull everything. Not that time. He went with it and drove it hard to left field.
Strikes to Parmelee. 3 more earned runs charged to Belisario. Horrible outing at Target Field last Sunday. Parmelee 0 for 3. Hoping to deliver a big late inning hit like the one he thought he had last night. Small up and away.
You can see Nieto signaling for a fastball high there to Parmelee. That's that can't be Petrichka's area of strength. He's a power sinker type pitcher, and those guys generally can't just make up a high fastball.
Drilled but foul. We saw the White Sox do this with Parmelee at Target Field. Have Abreu at first base almost hugging the baseline. Now, it's a partial shift because of the runner at second. They can't swing everybody over. But the only guy who isn't shifted is the shortstop. The second baseman and the first baseman are still in an extreme pull shift. There's a huge hole right about where the second base umpire is standing. One and two to Parmelee. Smothered by Nieto. 2-2. Casey Fiend's going to pitch the bottom of the eighth. The question is, how big is the Twins' lead going to be? Chopper right where the second baseman was standing, and Ramirez ranges across to make a good play to end the inning. White Sox got 4 in the bottom of the 7th, no problem. Twins come back with 3 in the 8th. All it will take for the Twins to win this game is for a bullpen to put up, Twins bullpen to put up a couple of zeros. But putting up zeros has been an issue for both teams in this series. We played 32 half innings, and runs have been scored in more than half of those. Dribbled to the right side, easy play for Parmelee. Viciedo retired. Fiend has had some issues on this road trip, hoping to have a quick, clean 1-2-3-8.
Well, a week ago, you would not have said that the Twins bullpen this year has had trouble putting up zeros.
No.
They have been absolutely terrific all season long until just about a week ago, and then all of a sudden they've been kind of ambushed by the Royals and the White Sox.
Fiend had a good outing against Kansas City, gave up a hit in one inning, but last night a third of an inning and 4 earned runs. There's De Aza.
And there's a pitch you don't see Casey Fiend throw a whole lot, but it has been the case that they've been coming in throwing fastballs down the middle, and the other teams have been ready for that pitch. I'm sure there's been a conversation between Rick Anderson and the guys out there saying, look, have an idea. You can't just go in there and pitch the same way to every hitter all season long.
2-1. Last night, the game was kind of in the same spot. Twins had a lead going to the 8th inning. And Fiend came in. He faced 5 men, gave up 4 singles. All 4 men scored. And hence the 4 earned runs in a third of an inning. And now 3-1 to Diaz. Nieto scheduled to hit next. Armley with a wicked second hop. He finds the ball and then finds Fiend 2 down.
Chris Parmelee has really played well defensively at first base whenever Ron Gardner has had him in there. I've been really, really impressed with how much poise he has had over there. This ball really takes off on him. He stays with it, gets the out, and he plays with poise and confidence, like he knows exactly what he's doing over there, even when it's been a while since he's been at first base. Played very well.
Out in front, Nieto will hit. White Sox have a bench of Flowers, Sierra, Konerko, and Leury Garcia. And if you're Casey Fiend and you've had your worst outing of the year this side of Fenway Park, as he did last night, you want the ball, you want to get back out there as quickly as possible. A little bit low, 1-2.
You absolutely want to get right back out there. I'm sure he was very, very happy to see the Twins regain the lead, knowing that he had a chance to get back in his 8th inning role to get to Glenn Perkins.
2-2 to Nieto. Perkins, of course, expected to pitch the 9th.
Saw Kurt Suzuki there motioning out to Casey Fiend as if to say, Suave, calm down, stay back, easy. One of the things Rick Anderson told me, he thinks that a lot of the pitching staff, starters and relievers lately, been gripping the ball real tightly, trying to be kind of the max effort, everything they've got, every pitch. Kurt Suzuki trying to back Casey off just a little bit.
Just off the corner. Fiend thought it hit the corner. 3-2 with Eaton on deck. With Love, Eaton will lead off the 9th against the lefty Perkins. Walked it. The number 9 batter goes to first. And Eaton will hit against the righty. Sierra will run for Nieto. A guy who's already got 3 doubles tonight. And now the White Sox insert a speedy runner representing the tying run at first base. Tying run on now with 2 outs in the 8th. Foul away. You have to play this guy straight away because he hits it from foul line to foul line. And now playing him as deeply as he can, but we've seen a few doubles this year already where he hits a double in front of the fielders instead of between them. 1 strike. Foul Nunez fires to second. He is out at second base. Eaton's aggressiveness ends the inning. Nunez replacing Willingham in left, and a perfect throw to the bag ends the 8th inning.
Great, strong throw and awareness by Nunez to nail him at second base.
Having seen the replay on the scoreboard, started walking off the field. Kerwin Danley wouldn't let him do it. They're the only two defenders on the field. Let's take a look at the throw from Nunez and the slide by Eaton. And I think, as minute as it might be, Eaton's thumb was tagged before the right hand hit the bag. Right there.
Yeah, what I saw is that his right hand gets to and past the bag but never touches it, and it's his left hand. You see his right hand goes by the bag, never hits it, and Brian gets the tag on his left shoulder. And I don't think his right hand, even though it got to and past the bag before the tag, I don't think he got there. Yep, he's out.
And the inning will end. And Eaton cursing at himself. He's playing with a broken finger in his right hand. And he's got 4 hits tonight and made the final out of the inning at second base.
There is a lot. Trevor Plouffe having a big night. 2 doubles and 2 runs batted in, as well as a single to start the Twins. Big comeback in the top of the 8th. Adam Eaton not to be outdone. 3 doubles and a single that was almost a double. He has had some kind of great night. May have run the White Sox out, but the White Sox in the 7th inning, 4 runs on 5 hits. Everybody got in the act. Alexei Ramirez driving in the final runs to put them up by 2, but then Oswaldo Arcia, a line drive off of Diaz's glove into left field to drive in a couple. The Twins come roaring back with 3 runs, and they're in the top of the 8th. And that's where we stand now, 7-6.
Webb pitching to Escobar, ball 1. Escobar 0 for 3, then the lineup will roll over. Santana and Dozier. Would love to add another run, but Perkins will get the 9th. Swing and a miss. High fastball.
Tyler Flowers now in catching for Nieto, who had sacrificed and then, or actually walked, and then was pinch run for him.
Escobar talking to himself, probably in Spanish, and I don't know Spanish, but I think I read his lips. How'd I miss that? Ball was right where he wanted it. Foul back. 96 miles per hour might have had something to do with it. 1-2. Both starters actually did a good job here tonight, but neither will be involved in the decision. Bullpen meltdowns for each team left us with a 7-6 ball game. 2-2. Fastball again at 96. Escobar didn't catch up to it. 1-away. Bring up Santana.
This is a ball that Escobar is always going to have a problem with, that high fastball. He's a low ball hitter. He needs to just lay off of that one. It's tough with 2 strikes. You see the ball up there by your eyes. It looks good. Tough pitch for a lot of left-handers to hit. It's not the one Escobar wants to swing at if he can help it.
Santana's reached twice, scored twice. Threatening the bunt, taking a strike. I like those eyes. He has larceny in his eyes. He's looking at the infielders, checking out where everybody's playing him. Chop foul. 0-2. Hit high and deep to right field. Santana. Gone, a home run. His 5th of the year.
And the second time in 2 series that Danny Santana has gone to 2 strikes, gotten a breaking ball in the middle of the plate and unloaded on it. What a good swing, a good at bat, and a huge run for the Twins. Here it is right here. Little breaking ball down and in, stays with it, drops the barrel, and those fast hands can generate a lot of bat speed. No doubt about it, as soon as he hit it in this park, the way the ball carries, there was no doubt that was going.
All 5 of his home runs hit this year have come with 2 strikes. He's looking around at infielders, thinking about bunting and all that, and then says, heck with it. Dozier takes outside, and it's 2-0.
Let's see if he bunts. He's going to run hard to first, and then they're going to give him a steal sign. Then he's going to run hard to second, and someone's going to get a hit. He'll have to run. So he can just try.
1 home run as a right-handed batter, 4 now from the left side of the plate. 2-0 to Dozier, and a strike. Hits are even at 11 apiece. Twins have scored in 5 of the 9 innings. White Sox have scored in 3 of their 8. 3-1. Plouffe on deck.
Twins would have scored an awful lot more had it not been for a couple of double plays and when they had big innings started. But they swung the bats very, very well last 2 nights. It's fun to see. It's fun for them to be swinging like this, I'll tell you that.
Full count to Dozier.
Danny Santana is just such a fun player to watch. You never know what you're going to get from him. He just keeps battling. There, first time up, I thought or after his first base hit, then he had a couple of bats when he looked overmatched or out of sorts or just was confused or something. And you think, well, maybe he's not feeling good at the plate.
Dozier got hit by a pitch, or it was ball 4. At any rate, he'll go to first.
Then he's swinging over the top of fastballs and looking like he's getting beat on those, and someone will throw him a curveball and he hits it in the seats. You just never know with that young man. He just keeps battling. Good things keep happening.
I guess what's impressed me is he's not. I mean, he's had a bad game or 2, but not a bad week. You know, he hasn't really augured into a deep slump at all this year.
Right, that's what I'm getting at, and you're saying it better than I. But just when it looks like he's going to go into the slump, where I see a lot of guys, they start swinging badly, and they lose it for a while, and he starts swinging badly for a couple of bats and hits a home run, or rips a base hit somewhere. He just has refused to prolong any streak of bad at bats.
It's Plouffe. Strike on the outside corner. Been a very good night at the plate for Plouffe. Double down the left field line, a double to right center, each of those driving in a run, and then a 1-out single between the right fielder and the right field line. He has sprayed the ball around, hit with authority, and had one of his better nights at the plate. You would expect Dozier would be at least thinking about stealing here. The Twins have the luxury of a 2-run lead. Dozier in the stolen base department, 17 of 23. Flowers behind the plate. Dozier bluffs. 0-2. Now, is that a bluff, or is that just he was going, but then
that looked to me like he was going? Yep, I agree with you.
But then the slide step aborted the stolen base attempt?
Yes, I think he was trying to read the move. He saw the move that he wanted, and with the bending of the front knee, and took off, and then realized that Webb kind of quick delivered him and held up.
Pitch out, and it's 1-2.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes here. Not a very great chance that Ventura will pitch out 2 in a row. Webb might throw a breaking ball here. Doesn't go.
2-2.
I think Bryant has the green light to go here if he can get a jump. And what Paul Molitor has been talking with him about in certain situations, yes, you can go, but only if you get a real good jump. Only if you get the jump, you know you got it.
There he goes. And the pitch hit to right center field. Down for a hit. Plouffe's 4th hit of the night. And Dozier will go to 3rd. All 4 balls have been spanked hard.
As well as I've seen Trevor Plouffe swing the bat in a game, maybe in 2 or 3 years. Just ball outside, continues to go up the middle and the other way with it. Great night for Trevor. Just the way he has approached the pitches on which he's gotten base hits has just been beautiful to watch.
Nunez's first plate appearance. He entered the game as a pinch runner in the 8th after Willingham was hit by a pitch. Again, the game turned when Belisario came into the game for the White Sox. He retired 1 man, gave up 3 earned runs.
And with Nunez in left field, getting that ball down the line quickly and making a very strong throw to get Eaton might have turned the game as well.
It helps when the outfielders throw the ball to the right base.
Throw it to the right base with some authority and accuracy. Absolutely. He made a very nice play. You know, he's got great speed. He got to the ball very, very quickly. Once he got there, he's got a very strong arm. And to your point, do it to the right place.
1 out in the inning. Twins have added a run to the lead already here in the ninth, and Nunez takes down and away, ball 1. The Twins got Nunez. We imagined him being in the shortstop mix. In fact, maybe playing there on a regular basis. In fact, he's only played there a couple of times. He's spent more time in the outfield than at short. Sharply hit. And the White Sox will turn their 4th double play of the night. It'll be a 2-run lead for Glenn Perkins. Last night, 8 runs were not enough to win. Twins hope it will be tonight. The Twins trying to even the series at a game apiece. Trevor Plouffe with 4 hits. And it'll be Glenn Perkins hoping to pin down the save. He will face Beckham, Abreu, and Konerko. And all of them have had some success against Perkins. Perkins had a rough outing against the Royals. Got the save. Gave up 1 run and a 2-run lead. Time before that against the White Sox, he filled the bases with nobody out before getting the save Sunday afternoon. Here's Beckham. Strike 1. Breaking ball, a check swing, and that's an important pitch for Perkins. His last couple outings have been predictable, not so much in the result, but what he was throwing, all fastballs. A visit from Rick Anderson the other day in Kansas City. He said, hey, why don't we mix in a breaking ball?
Exactly right, and then he threw 5 straight breaking balls to get out of the close out the game. There's a fastball to get ahead and 2 sliders. It takes care of Beckham.
Final game of the series tomorrow, our Century Link to what's next. Kyle Gibson started this road trip off on the right foot for the Twins. Jose Quintana's been outstanding for the White Sox. 1 down, and now Abreu. Abreu's 3 for 4 this year with an intentional walk against Perkins. Fouled back with the fastball. We'll see if that's the last fastball that Abreu sees.
The last time Perkins and Abreu faced each other was at Target Field. Abreu, just like that one, a little bit behind on the fastball. Glenn decided to throw him a slider with 2 strikes and for a strike. And Abreu hammered in the left for a single. We'll see how he goes after him this time. Staying with the fastball. This is exactly the way they would bat win in Target Field. But Perkins got to a count where he wanted to throw a breaking ball, but had to throw a strike with it, which is a dangerous pitch to a guy that's this strong and is behind on your fastball. If he can throw the slider to the back foot, the good one back there, down there, he's got a chance to get him. A slider strike, no good. Slider to the back foot could be real good.
2 strikes. High fastball, wicked, slashed, foul. In the middle of that at bat, Hughes had to duck out of the way. In the middle of that at bat at Target Field, though, Abreu took that wicked back foot slider in the middle of the at bat, and then Perkins had to come in with a strike with that pitch. And Abreu got his base hit.
Right, and my point was if guys behind the fastball keep throwing, either throw the back foot slider or throw the fastball. But slider strike is just going to be too dangerous a pitch to this guy, in my opinion, because he's not jumping out. The reason he was able to take that back foot slider is because he's waiting a long time. He's not trying to jump out and hit the fastball out in front. Doesn't mean you don't keep throwing the back foot slider, try to get him to chase, but the slider strike is a dangerous pitch to this guy.
Another 0-2. Weakly hit on the ground to short.
I like staying with the fastball. He just was not catching up with it. He hasn't in 2 at-bats against Perkins. That's a good pitch. A good plan by Perkins and Suzuki.
A lot of relieved players in the Twins dugout who were ducking behind the screen while you kept calling for one fastball after another. 2 down, and now the real nemesis for Perkins this year for the White Sox has been Paul Konerko in a pinch-hitting capacity. He has faced Perkins 3 times and delivered 3 singles on a total of 4 pitches. He is the last hope for the White Sox, though, here tonight.
And those career numbers are amazing against a guy that's been as successful as Glenn Perkins has been, even against right-hand hitters.
And a slider taken for a strike.
That's a great pitch on the first pitch he sees.
To left, and Perkins skids up another single to Konerko. 4 for 4 against Perkins, all hit singles.
And most of them hit down toward the label, just like that one. He just was able to muscle that in. Perkins got in on him. He can't believe it. He says, I cannot get this guy out.
But on 6 pitches, he's got 4 hits.
And at least the last 2, and I think 3 of the 4 have been down in the label contact area and just dumped in front of the left fielder.
10 pitches for Perkins tonight. All 10 have been strikes, and here is Ramirez. Chopper. Escobar fires to second. Game over. 11 pitches, all strikes. Perkins gets the save, and the Twins have evened this series at a game apiece. Anthony LaPanta last night, 8 runs weren't enough for a Twins win. Tonight, a nice comeback in the late innings, and 8 were enough.